In today's class, we are going to discuss about services in Android. So just before I begin with this, let me just quickly recap what we had discussed in this slide in the previous few classes. Okay, we were talking about building blocks of Android and we had spoken about ABCs of Android. Okay, let me just quickly recap what are those ABCs. A stands for activity. We have seen that very extensively in the few programs or in the classes what we had done, and also we saw something as activity life cycle. Okay, so I think we have done that part a little bit justice to activity. All right, we will be using activity throughout our programs in Android, guys. So that's why I'm not taking much time about activity. Okay, and that is the only component which is compulsory in all of your apps. Okay, in all of your apps, the one which is compulsory is activity. So if you ask what about the remaining three components, they are not compulsory. Okay, you can or may not use it. It's up to the developer and it's up to the app or the functionality of the app. It depends on how do you use these remaining three components. So let me just go to the second word, which is B, broadcast receiving or receivers. Okay, broadcast receiver is the second one. C stands for content providers and S stands for services. Okay, so I thought this is much more relevant and this is much more something which you are using every day. That's why I thought this will be second. Okay, the order in which the system gives, I will not bother, but I'm taking it in my order, guys. Okay, so second one, what we are going to see today is services. And so what is remaining for us to see? Broadcast receiver and content provider. We'll see them one by one in each class. So today's class, what we are going to discuss is services. All right, so what is a service? Okay, that's something which is a very important question. What is a service in English, and then how do you put that in perspective in a computer? Okay, so all these things are important. What do you mean by a service in English? It is something which is rendered, which is an action, or which is let's say it's a kind gesture, right? Okay, but then basically it is an action which is going to help or it's going to enhance somebody else. Okay, so for example, the essential services are available now. What do you mean by that? They are selling milk, groceries, vegetables, all which are essential for us, and the one which they provide right now to us is called as a service because they're getting it for us. Okay, that's called a service. Now, which means they are doing something. Okay, you do not see what is happening in the background. You just go to the shop, you get whatever you want, and you come back. Okay, but what is happening in the background? How did that product reach there? That and all is not in our concern because it is in the background. We are not bothered about it. We just need to consume a service. Okay, that's in real world. Let's come to the computer. All right, so in a computer, what is a service? Now, you might ask, why am I talking about a computer while it is a mobile app? Okay, basically, a mobile is a small PC, basically. All right, it's like a laptop. Only thing is the size is small. The components are adapted to that particular size. That's all. Okay, remember that. So whatever applies to a laptop, whatever applies to a desktop with an operating system, hardware, software, all those things, same thing applies in your phone also, right? It's a hardware, it has software, it has an operating system. It requires drivers to understand the graphical capability of the phone, the audio of the phone, the Wi-Fi of the phone. All those things are typically same thing which you see in your laptop. Okay, so that is that's why I'm comparing that with the computer first, then about Android. Okay, what about our regular laptop? What are services in laptop? Okay, or in general, what are services? Okay, typically the definition would be a service is something which is running in the background. Okay, please remember this word. Service is something which is also part of your process, but it is running in the background. Okay. Let me just get into the slides. I'll show that in practical. I thought we'll finish the slides quickly and then I'll show you how these services work in my laptop first. Then we'll see about the Android program. Okay. So first thing, what is a service in Android? It is an application component of Android. Okay, just like I've been discussing about 4 components of Android, ABCs. In that one, that S stands for service and it is an application component. What does it do? It can perform long running operations in the background and it doesn't provide a user interface. This is the technical definition, guys. Please do have a glance. Okay, a service is an application component that can perform long running operations in the background and it does not provide a user interface. Okay, this is the exact opposite of an activity. What is an activity? An activity is something which you see, which has a user interface. You see and interact with it. That's why it's called an activity. Opposite of that is a service. It also runs operations, but it does not have a user interface. No user interface, but it does logic. That's all. Okay. Some application component can start a service and it continues to run in the background even if the user switches to another application. Okay, I'm going to use some examples for this, guys, just to remember. All right, let's say that just think of a scenario before. I think it's better to have an example in mind. After you have that example clearly in your mind, then we will see the PPT. Then it will make sense, I believe. Okay, so first thing, let's say that you opened Chrome. Okay, in your phone, guys, please remember this. In your Android phone, you opened Chrome and you say you search for some PDF. Okay, let's say that you search for some IEEE papers or for a seminar and something. You're searching for some papers. Okay, and you are downloading it. Let's say there is a paper which is 10 MB. Okay, some size. Okay, 10 MB size, and you're trying to download it. Now, what happens is when the paper is getting downloaded, okay, it is not going to take up the entire screen and say you cannot move away from here till I finish the download. No, once you start the download, you continue with the browsing, you continue with your WhatsApp, or you continue with everything. Okay, but if you see on the notification bar, Chrome will show you a progress saying that this file is getting downloaded. Okay, please note, even if I close Chrome, in the sense not close Chrome, I'll press home button, I open WhatsApp, I'm now not in Chrome at all. Okay, I'm right now in WhatsApp, I'm talking to my friend. Okay, all these things are happening, but in the background my system is still downloading that file. I hope you get the flow what I'm saying. The file is still getting downloaded in the background. Okay, I need not be there all the time because that file download is a service, not an activity. Okay, but you see a notification saying that it is happening. That is why I said there are different types of services that we will discuss shortly in the PPT. But please remember this. What is a service? It runs in the background. It does not need the UI or activity to keep running. Now, when you press the home button and come out of your Chrome, okay, the Chrome's activity, on pause and on stop is called, which means anymore it is not visible on the screen. Chrome is not visible. Okay, but activity lifecycle does not affect this because activity called the service and the service is running right now in the background. Okay, and it is showing you a notification saying that this much percentage of the file is downloaded and it is going on, and you finish all your work and come back to Chrome. The Chrome will have downloaded and kept that file. All right, that is happening because downloading is a background service. Okay, that thing you should keep in mind. That's the first example I'm giving. Second example is a very popular and very common example which everybody will give you to explain the concept of a service, which is nothing but music player. Okay, you have music player in your phone. All right, it might be different based on your operating system which you're using, or you would have downloaded some external music player like Winamp or VLC, okay, or any music player which you want to use. Now, I open the music player and I start playing one song. Okay, and while that song is playing, if I move out of the activity, okay, when I say move out of the particular app which is playing that song, I'll still be able to listen to that music. Okay, I'll be able to work with WhatsApp or some call, not call, SMS or Telegram or whatever it is. I'm using some other apps or games or something like that I'm playing. Okay, but music is still continuing in the background. How is music still running in the background? Because music is put as part of your service. Okay, now if you ask music is, how is music a service? Music is just playing, right? We don't see any UI when we are playing music. Best example would be, just see that in WhatsApp you get some voice messages. Okay, voice message, when you're playing it, if you move away from that activity, let's say if you press back button, voice will stop. If you press the home button also, that whatever voice clipping you are hearing will stop. Okay, because they have put music, that same MP3 file, inside an activity, not on a service. If the music is put on a service, it will run in the background. But if the music is put on the activity to run, for example, music is a player, right? So if I ask activity to start playing MP3 file and a service to start playing an MP3 file, both are logic, asking you to play something. Okay, so, but when you play a music through activity, and when the activity dies or when the activity stops, music also will stop. Okay, but when I put it on a service, even if the activity is killed, music will be still running. Music will still be playing because you have put it on a service. I hope you get the idea what I'm talking about. With that in mind, read the statements. A service is an application component that can perform long running operations in the background. If you don't stop the music will keep on playing till it reaches the end of the playlist. Okay, if you have kept on loop, it will keep on playing till your battery dies. Okay, that's because it is a long running operation. It can perform long running operations in the background, and it does not need or it does not provide a UI. This concept, please keep in mind, guys. Okay, how will a service start? Another application component can start a service. What is another application component? Activity or broadcast receiver or content provider. Any of these other components can start a service. It cannot start on its own. Somebody has to call it. Okay, because it is still part of the process. Okay, and it continues to run in the background even if the user switches to another application. This is the highlight of service. Okay, please remember that. Additionally, you can also bind it to a service to interact with it and even perform inter-process communication. This is a very famous concept, inter-process communication, IPC. Okay, this is different from our laws. I'm talking about inter-process communication. What do you mean by that? When a background process is running, okay, most of you would have seen this same two examples what I give you, I'll take it back. Okay, when Chrome is downloading a file in the background and you come out of it and you are working with something else, Chrome will automatically put something called as notification on the notification bar, and you will see the progress. Whether even Chrome is not running, you'll still see the notification in the notification bar. That is because that UI, what you see in the notification, is bound to that service. Okay, they are tied together. And some of you would have seen VLC or music player. The moment you start playing music player, nothing will be there on the notification bar. But when you come out of that new music player app, on the notification bar, you will see that a small, like say, rectangle kind of shape would come. And on top of that, you'll have play button, pause button, next button. All those things will be there as part of it. Because that UI is now mapped or bound to a background service. Okay, so that is also possible with a bound service. I'll talk about that shortly. Okay, so what are the things, same thing which I have put here, it can handle network transaction. Okay, for example, right now, even when I'll show that in Windows operating system, same thing applies in Android also. Okay, even when you are using right now, most of you would have seen that some Android OSs have a choice of you guys keeping, what do you call, internet. Okay, you can see the data transfer limit. I think most of you have enabled it and kept on the top how much data is getting transferred. Okay, if you see, internet or access of internet is always running in the background. Okay, most of it is seen. For example, if you're connected to a Wi-Fi in your home and sometimes the Wi-Fi is down, you wouldn't have accessed anything. But when you open your phone will tell Wi-Fi connected but no internet. Okay, how did system, I didn't even try to connect to the internet, but how did my phone detect and tell me that there is Wi-Fi is connected but you don't have internet? How did my system know, or how did my notification bar told me that there's no internet? Okay, because it is running in the background. It is running in the background and pinging or checking whether it is working. It is handling network transactions. It is used for playing music. It is used to perform file input output in the background. Okay, or interact with the content provider, all from the background. This is the example of, these are examples, some examples of services. Okay, most of you know that when you play a game, your progress is stored somewhere automatically. Okay, that is done in the background. Okay, so most of the things, your configuration, your theme preference, okay, all these things are right now stored in the background, but you see an interface, that's all. Click on save. That's all we see. But what happens in the background is it is stored somewhere. So all background processes normally are, not every background process, but whatever you put, whatever you want a particular thing to happen in the background without interrupting the user, and it should run in the background. Okay, then we use a concept called service. I hope this is clear to you guys, the concept. All right, let me get into a little bit more. There are three different types of services. Now, before I even go to these three types of services, let's keep one thing very clear. Okay, I guess all of you know there are something called system apps and user installed apps. Okay, this is not what I'm about to tell you guys. This slide will be a little bit different. This is in general about a service, but I want you guys to understand something. There are two different things. One, system apps. What do you mean by system apps? Like for example, the caller on your phone, the dialer, the SMS, these apps are system apps. You cannot remove them. Okay, you're not supposed to remove them, and you cannot remove them by default unless you are a root user. Okay, some apps cannot be removed by you. They belong to the operating system, not to you. Now, when you install, like for example, you're installing Telegram, you install Truecaller, all these things are user installed apps. Okay, which means the apps which are already available, if they create a service, we call them as system services. Okay, but the apps which you install utilize a service, they are user defined or user created or custom service. Please understand that that's not the one which I'm about to discuss. That's why I'm telling this in front. I'm not put that on the slide, but remember, services which you create or third party people create are called as custom services. That's what we are going to do. Okay, but whatever is already inbuilt in your system, like for example alarm, countdown timer, etc., those are system services. I have put a program which will use system service also later, but first let's create our own service, then we will utilize somebody else's like system service. Okay, like notification, that is a service. Okay, when even right now if you close WhatsApp or remove it from memory and all those things, but when a WhatsApp message is sent to you, it automatically comes up. Okay, that's not service actually, but it's called broadcast receiver. But in the background, I'm without even opening WhatsApp, I'm trying to show you a short what do you call a preview of that message, and in the background I'm trying to put that is a notification service. Okay, that's also a service which is not given by you, it is given by the system. You are just utilizing that service. That's also possible, but right now what I'm discussing in this slide is the three general types of services. What are the three types? Number one, foreground services. Okay, so obviously the second one would be background services. Okay, so I think I'll take one by one. Okay, first we'll say foreground services. A foreground service is something which performs operation that is noticed or noticeable to the user. The examples what I gave so far are all foreground services. All right, what do you mean by a foreground service? In simple, it is running in the background, but it will always show you what is happening in the background. That is called as a foreground service. Example, download. The file download is a background service. Okay, it is running in the background, but you see a UI saying that this much percentage is downloaded. In the notification bar, if you see some progress of that background running service, then that is called as a foreground service. A foreground service performs some operation that is noticeable to the user. Example, audio app. Okay, it will just show you how the song is playing and all those things will be shown for an audio track. That's called as a foreground service. Okay, they must display a notification. If something is happening in the background but it is just showing you a notification, then it is called as a foreground service. Okay, a music player, for example, when I start playing music, okay, music is getting played and I'm listening to it, but I want to open some other app right now. When I come to some other app, I will be able to see that music players a small widget on the notification bar saying pause, play, all those things. Okay, which means that's a foreground service because it is displaying a notification that I am right now playing in the background. Okay, so that is called a foreground service. They continue running even when the user is not interacting with the app. Please keep this in mind. Okay, that's why it's called as a foreground service. Generally, services are something which run in the background, but when a user is getting notified that some background process is running, then it is called a foreground service. This is the first one. Second one is background service. What is the background service? Okay, services are normally running in the background. That's very simple. But what do you mean by a background based service? Opposite of what I told you right now. It performs an operation, but it is not directly noticed by the user. User will not be able to see that this is happening in the background. That's called a background service. Even though something is happening in the background of your phone right now, you're not shown. You're shown only a few things in front of you, but remaining everything is happening in the background. Okay, so those services which are running in the background without notifying or noticing the user, then it is called as a background service. Okay, like for example, every app has something called as optimization. Okay, and optimizing the storage or fragmenting the storage. Here I've used the word compacting its storage. These things need not be shown to you. That's how the app is organizing itself. Okay, that will be run in the background. which means it will usually be a background service. It will not tell the user that I'm optimizing my app. Okay, I am trying to fragment my storage space. No, nothing. That will not be visible to you because it's only bothering or it is only affecting that app, nobody else outside it. So that will be a background service. Okay. Now after API level 26 and higher, there is a restriction for that because some people started utilizing. I think most of you know this already. Some memes have already been released with that. The calculator app of the phone. If you're installing a calculator, some app calculator started asking. Calculator wants to know where you are located. Location is required. Calculator wants to read and write your contacts. Okay, all these things were asked, but a calculator does not require that permission. It need not run in the background. A calculator is an app which need not run in the background. I hope you follow. A music player, yes, of course, it should run in the background, but calculator need not run on the background, but it is requesting for running in the background, which means it is trying to take some information from you. Okay, and if an app right now after API level 26, securities have been increased. So most of you would have seen this when you're using web.whatsapp or when you're using an app which requires the location of your phone, there'll be a notification saying this app is utilizing your location right now. Okay, so there is a small restriction kept. System imposes restrictions on running background services when the app itself isn't in the foreground. When the app itself is not there anywhere in the memory, but your service is running in the background without notifying the user, API level 26 and higher, there is a restriction. It's not possible. Okay, most of you would have seen this now when you request a camera or when you request location services. Earlier it was allow, deny. Only two options were there. But now if you see after API level, those new phones, what you guys have, okay, will ask you something only while using the app. Okay, only this time, like that you can give restrictions. That's introduced after API level 26 and above. Okay, but basically restrictions are there. It is not a good practice to run something without telling the user. Okay, which just means something you have something to hide, then you are doing it in the background. So that is why all services now require you to keep everything running in the foreground also, which means you show a notification, you do the background process. Like for example, downloading or listening to music, you do it in the background, no problem. But show me what is happening. Okay, I want to see what is happening. That's always good because user has full control over the app as well as the system. Okay, in most situations, for example, you shouldn't access location information from the background. Like for example, when you are navigating, let's say for you're driving or you're riding and you are looking for a location, you search for in Google a particular location and you're traveling. Okay, that time location should be utilized. Of course, it should be utilized, and that location is pulled from GPS. Okay, in your phone you have that, and the phone is trying to give that, and the app which is using that location is right now in the foreground. Okay, and right now even most of you would have seen this. Open Google Maps, start navigation, then press home button. You will still see Google Maps navigation in the notification bar. So Google Maps also has converted it into a foreground services. Okay, so if an app is asking your location and it is not even being running, like for example, WhatsApp is asking your location, okay, and you have clicked on allow, okay, and your system is showing WhatsApp is currently showing your location, but you have not even opened WhatsApp. That's wrong. Okay, you shouldn't access location information from the background. You should be, while the phone is right now having that app running, then you can utilize it. Okay, that is why I said you need to know the difference between a background process as well as a foreground process. And right now after API level 26, background processes are restricted to a level in which you have to show something which is happening to the user. Okay, so that's why these two will be put together as one type of service called started service. Okay, I'll tell about that later. Last one is bound. Okay, a service is bound when an application component binds to it by calling bind service. Okay, the life cycle will be a little bit different, guys, but I'll show that shortly. All right, it is like something like a client server interface. Okay, it allows you to interact with the service, send request, receive result, and even do so across processes. Not like, for example, a location is asked and location is only available to Google Maps. Okay, contacts is required, contacts is only available to WhatsApp, nothing like that. Okay, contacts is a different app, WhatsApp is a different app, but they both are communicating with each other on a constant basis. Okay, that's actually content provider, but just think the concept. Okay, in your phone, in your WhatsApp right now, you have contacts. Instead of the numbers, okay, for example, WhatsApp doesn't care what name you have given in your profile, okay, but what you see in your WhatsApp is the name which you have stored in your phone. Okay, for example, if you have stored my name as Thomas in your phone, okay, your WhatsApp will show my name as Thomas only. Okay, whatever I've given as my profile name, let's say if I've given 12345 as my profile name, that will not be shown to you. You'll only see what you have saved my number as. If you have not saved my number, you'll only see my number there. Okay, so you do not store my name in WhatsApp, you store my name in the contacts app. Okay, and when WhatsApp is running, WhatsApp is trying to pull, okay, or it is trying to get the data from the contacts app and display that in the WhatsApp. Okay, so which means here WhatsApp becomes a client and your contacts app becomes like a server, and these are inter-process communicate. What do you mean by inter-process? WhatsApp is a separate process, contacts is a separate process. I am trying to access some data from one app to another app, inter-process. Okay, communication is happening. It's happening every day, but we are just seeing the names which we technically put for them. Okay, a bound service runs only as long as another application component is bound to it. Now, for example, you go and force stop a contacts app, okay, or disable your contacts app and come back to WhatsApp. Okay, I hope you follow what I'm saying. Just an idea. Okay, I disable or I force stop my contacts app, and then I come back to WhatsApp and try to open my data. Okay, right now it will work because you cannot stop, or since it's a system service, your contacts. I'm just giving an example for you to understand. Okay, so the server is killed. If the server is killed, client will not be able to get data, obviously. So when you open WhatsApp after that, you'll only see numbers, you won't see names. I hope you got it. That is called a bound service. It is bound to a client server architecture. Okay, so which means the client will, for example, you're right now in Google Meet because you have internet, and the server from Google is right now serving you data. Okay, what if internet goes? Okay, what will happen? Or in other words, if my system crashes, okay, I will not be able to broadcast what I'm doing, which means the server is down. When the server is down, client will not be able to do anything, which means you are now unbound. Okay, right now, since you are in the Google Meet, I can say you are bound to this particular service. Okay, this is called a bound service. Multiple components can bind to the service at once, just like how Google Meet is happening right now. Around 70-80 people can join this Google Meet. Okay, but all of them unbind, the service will be destroyed. For example, if every one of us leave the meeting, towards the end only one person is there. Once he leaves the meeting, this meeting is closed. Okay, even if one person stays in the call, the meeting is still alive. I hope you follow. Just like that, a bound service. Okay, when all of them unbind, the service is destroyed. If everybody leaves the meeting, then this meeting is cancelled. This meeting is closed, like that. Okay, remember that. That's called a bound service. I've just put a life cycle diagram. Again, this is for theory purpose. Okay, I told you there are three types of services: foreground, background, but later I told you that they both are now combined. We can just tell one word called start. Okay, start service or unbounded service. So look at the first life cycle. Both these are life cycle, guys. One is unbounded service, one is bounded service. Okay, the life cycle of a unbounded service is very simple. Once you call start service, please note this method, start service. Okay, if you guys remember, when I moved from one activity to another activity, the line of code which actually opened the second activity was start activity. Here they use the word start service. Please understand, they both are the same, only thing the word is different. Start activity, start service. Once you say start service, on create is getting called. This same word we saw for activity lifecycle also. Okay, so on create is getting called. After on create, here the keyword is on start command. In activity, we just saw the word on start. Okay, here we use the word on start command. Okay, and then only these two, nothing else more, because it does not have a UI, right? So pausing, restarting, all those things will not be making big sense to us. So on start, once it is called, you are active. The lifetime of your services become active. Okay, then the service is running. When will the service be stopped? When the service is stopped by itself or by a client. Like for example, I started playing songs from one movie. Let's say there are 5 songs in that movie. Okay, so when will this service stop? Number one, after finishing all the 5 songs, the service will stop. One way. Second way, I go and stop it. So the service is stopped by itself. When will it stop by itself? When it finishes its task. Okay, so if you have asked the service to start playing music, till the music is stopped, the service is run. Okay, but imagine if you want to interrupt in the middle and stop the music, you can go and stop it. You are the client, you are going to stop. Okay, you say stop the music, then it stops. So when either way, whether it's stopped by itself or by a client, on destroy is getting called and the service is shut down. Very simple with respect to a service life cycle. Okay, unbounded. What about a bounded one? Only two more methods will get added here. Okay, on create is still there, on destroy is still there. Two methods are on bind, on unbind, connect, disconnect. Okay, and let's think of this service. Our clients are bound to this particular service. Now, since I am the host of this meeting, when I try to end the meeting, I get two choices: just leave the meeting or end the call for everyone. You follow what I'm saying? If I just leave the meeting, I will be leaving this meeting, you all will still be there in the meet. Okay, just like an example of a bound service. Okay, now if I click on end and say end the call for everybody, even if 60 people are there in the meet right now, all 60 will be asked to leave or will be removed from the meeting and the meeting will end. Okay, so clients are bound to a service because that's why it's called a bounded service. And when will you stop it? You cannot stop because, say, for example, in the middle, so many people are disconnected in this call. Okay, so many people get disconnected and then they join back again. But doesn't matter for me because this call will not end because one or two people are leaving right now. Okay, I hope you follow. Just because one or two people are unbinding themselves, okay, this call does not get disconnected. Okay, so when does this call actually, the meeting actually end? When I stop. When I stop, everybody gets unbound. Please note this line here. All clients unbind by calling unbind service. Okay, there's a method called unbind service. When you unbind that service, which means disconnect. So everybody, when I say you can leave the meeting, all of them start leaving. Okay, let's say 60 people leave. And then let's say last 2-3 people are still there. I am also there. Okay, till these 3-4 people leave, I will not be able to end the meeting. But if I click on my call, disconnect my call, then I have a choice of just leaving the meeting, which means I will be leaving that 4-5 people will still be there in the meeting and the meeting is still live. Okay. But if I click on end and say end the call for everybody, all the 4 people who are there will also be removed and the meeting will come to an end. Okay, that's called unbind. So if all clients unbind only, this service can be put to on destroy. But what about the service unbound service? Okay, it can stop itself or I can also go and stop it. Here, one person cannot think to stop the service. Rather, all of them who are using that service should stop. Then you can destroy it and the services are shut down. Okay, this is called a bounded service. I hope you follow this. These are the life cycle. Okay, and it's much simpler than that of an activity. It's important because service can run in the background without the user being aware of it. Okay, it is when it's destroyed to create it or created to destroy it, they follow these two paths. One, a started service. Okay, please note what is a started service. That's what I just explained. I just put that in words here. Okay, when the service is stopped, the system will destroy it. The service is created when another component called start service. Okay, you can also stop itself by calling stop self, or you can the system can call it by saying stop service. Okay, either way, it will destroy. It will call the on destroy method. That's started service. Second one, bound service. It is when another component or a client calls bind service and they connect or communicate with the service using an interface. It's called iBinder, but anyway, it's an interface and it can close the connection by calling unbind service. If only one person joins the meeting and leaves the meeting ends. Okay, I hope you follow that. Same thing. Where multiple clients can bind to the same service, and when all of them unbind, the system destroys the service. When all of you leave this meeting is cancelled, and tomorrow when you join, there'll be a new meeting code created. I hope you follow that, right? Okay. The service does not need to stop itself here in bound service. You cannot stop itself. It need not. Okay, because everybody leaves means service is automatically stopped. Okay. I think I'll stop the presentation here. Let me come back to the system. I hope you have a general idea of what is a service. So before I go to Android's way of telling what is a service, let me just open, this is Windows 10 which I'm running, guys. Let me just go to the task manager. Let's understand a little bit about processes and services here in Android. In Windows, then we'll go to Android. Okay. So first of all, this is the task manager of my laptop, guys. I hope you can see this. Okay, as usual, Android is taking a lot of memory and a lot of things are running here. Okay, at the last tab, you can see these tabs. Okay, by default, when you open it, will be like this, task manager. Just click on more details and you come here. Okay, and at the last tab, you have something called services. Okay, so before I go to that tab, I want you guys to notice here, just sort it by name. It should come like this. Okay, first one you see apps. Three apps are running. Okay, one is Chrome, one is Android Studio, one is Task Manager. I hope you can see that. Also in the in the taskbar, you can see that there are three things running: Android Studio, Google Chrome, Task Manager. Three things are running. Android Studio is taking the highest memory, then Google Chrome, then Task Manager. That's all. That this much is running right now. Okay, but please note, these are apps which you are able to see. So in Android, what would I use these words? Activity. These are the three activities which you are able to see and interact with. But you see, there are 71 background processes happening in my laptop currently. 71. I'm not able to see anything. I'm only seeing three processes. In other words, three apps, but remaining all are background processes. Okay, I hope you guys remember in one class I had spoken about ADB. Android Debug Bridge. Okay, now you see that there is a adb.exe running here. Okay, it's running here in background. You're not able to see anything in the screen. You're able to see here there's a background process called adb.exe. Now, who is running this? From where this exe has come? Okay, it's come from Android Studio. Android Studio is the activity which has called this service. Why am I calling this as a service or a background process? Is because it is not going to be shown to you. You will never see what is ADB. ADB is the background thing which connects between your laptop and your phone, or your laptop and your emulator. Okay, that's a background process. I hope you got what I'm saying. But what you are seeing in front of you, this is called an app. What you see here, in Android we call this as an activity. In Windows, you call this as an app is running or an application is running. I hope you guys follow this, right? Now, let me go back to, here you can see how much CPU, memory, disk and all is there. Okay, I don't see anywhere my internet connection is kept separate this one, but you see Wi-Fi is getting utilized right now. I'm right now utilizing Wi-Fi because my data is getting used. I'm not able to see anything. But how is my Wi-Fi getting used? Because I'm talking on Google Meet. I'm using internet in my laptop. Okay, it's a background process, a Wi-Fi going through a particular adapter, hardware and all is there, but this is a service running in the background. I'm not able to see my Wi-Fi. I'm able to only see the throughput or how my data or which Wi-Fi am I connected in, what is my IP address, what is my IPv6 address, all these things only I'm able to see. Okay, this is my processes. Then what is services? Let me go to services. You see there are a lot of services running in my system. You can see this is the big table of information which is given about services. Okay, none of this we would have bothered about so much so far, but this time I want you guys to listen. What is a service? Okay, it's running. Please note the status here. It says it is running. Okay, if it is running, then why am I not able to see it? Because services run in the background. Okay, that's all I'm trying to tell. Services run in the background. Okay, now keeping this in mind, let me just take some famous services. Okay, let me just put them according to alphabet. Okay, and let me just search for system Windows. I'll go to Windows. Yeah, right. You can see here, guys, the one which I have highlighted. Okay, please note what is it. Okay, Windows Audio. Please note that I've just put the word Windows Audio. Okay, and the status of Windows Audio is running. Okay, Windows Audio is a service, audio service, audio SRV they have put. Okay, this is an audio service and it has a process ID of 1348. Okay, doesn't matter. What I'm trying to focus here is, you see at the bottom you have this icon which says speaker/HP 100%. I have kept my volume 100%. Let me just zoom in a little bit. I hope you are able to see. Okay, this is my audio. Okay, this is just a user interface, guys, by the way. Okay, this is not going to determine anything. You can see that my speaker right now is in 100%. Okay, and speaker which I'm using is HP, all those things are there. All right, so this is my speaker and what I'm seeing is a user interface. What I'm going to do right now is going to click on this audio service. I'll right click on it and say stop. Okay, please note I'm going to stop a already running audio service. Okay, there might be some disruptions right now, but you can see that I'm going to stop